Hey there everyone, Pseudo here. Looks good, sounds good, think we got everything figured out. Welcome back to another build crafting, in this case bug fixing stream. I am Pseudo. Find me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter until it implodes. But yeah, we're going to be going over tonight a fix that I have, and some new music, which is very exciting, for the Daring Dragon bug that they introduced in the October 8th patch, which makes it basically unplayable, even more so than it already was. And yeah, completely borked my build, so I have been working diligently, almost all of my free time, to try to figure out something that could be done for this build. It's horrible. What they did to it is awful. They did it accidentally, so it's not arenanet's fault, but I am very excited to share with you what we have found and come up with to try to fix this build. This is a world versus world roaming only build. It is not good at anything. It is barely adequate at doing what it could barely do beforehand, which is spamming Daring Dragon over and over. But I will now illustrate. Actually, I'll need to go to Armistice Bastion. Before we get into that, let's just pause, take a breath, and let's get into it. So, the bug that they introduced on October 4th, in case you didn't know, is this fun thing where what they did, and I'm not sure exactly how they fixed this under the hood, but before, what you could do with any of the Grandmaster traits, no matter what Grandmaster Bladesworn trait you were using, you could do this thing where you would go into Dragon Trigger, your little F2 here, and you could nudge it, like nudge your character, to cancel the Dragon Trigger stance. And if you did that, it would put it on a 4-second, not a 8-second by default or 7-second cooldown if you have this, if you have the Discipline trait line equipped. And that was really good. Basically abusable and broken, so they needed to fix that. Unfortunately, the way they chose to fix that was to just always default it to an 8-second cooldown, which is fine, except for the fact that that doesn't actually always happen, as you'll see, I'm sure, as I'm playing. Sometimes it will just fall out for no reason and put Dragon Trigger off cooldown. And then also, the downside of all of this is that if I go into combat here, and I start building up flow, and I build up lots of flow, let's just cheat here really quick with flow stabilizer, you see you normally get to 100 max flow. Now I forgot to change off this build, so let's demonstrate real quick what the bug is. But basically before the patch, 100 flow with Daring Dragon means that you could theoretically get off 10 or more Dragon Slashes if you were mashing your Dragon Triggers out. You know, each one takes 10 flow, loads your bullets, you do a slash, rinse and repeat, and assuming you're also building 1 flow per second by default, while you don't have that on, or while you are doing the slashes, rather. So you can get 10 to 11, theoretically, base. It's much harder to do in combat, but you can do that theoretically before the October 8th patch, and you can see this on my channel. I have lots of different, like, roaming builds and whatnot. Now here, I also have Signet of Rage, which theoretically gives me 2 flow every 3 seconds. The note on the wiki's wrong. It actually does give you 2 flow every 3 seconds, not 3 flow every 3 seconds. But anyway, so you'll see I even have a little extra flow generation right now. And if I try to mash these Dragon Triggers out, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6, that's 7, that's 8, that's... Oh, and it fell out. It fell out right there. So we got really close. But basically, you're not able to get the full 10 to 11. Let's take the Signet of Rage off, and I'll be able to illustrate a little bit different, a little bit easier what I mean. You're not able to guarantee yourself the 10 to 11 that you could get, or more, if you had more flow generation, which was basically any trait on Warrior, that you could pre-October 8th patch. Now, I have no flow generation, so this is going to take me a while to build up here, but we can talk about it a little bit. But basically, as we're building up flow, I'll pull the build up for today. What this build intends, or aims to do rather, is sort of make up for the lack of flow generation or lack of passive flow generation that you're accruing, or you were accruing while you were doing your Dragon Slashes. So it aims to do this 2 main ways. Obviously Signet of Rage you already saw, which is just a little bit of flow on top, like the passive flow on top of it. But Burst Mastery combined with Furious. This build also maximizes crit chance, so with Fury and Arms you actually hit, and full Sigil stacks. I guess you do need the star stacks. but it hits 100% crit chance. So as long as you have Fury, which you do with Flow Stabilizer, plenty of it, you're going to maintain the ability to get those crits, which is just a little bit extra flow for each slash. Burst Mastery will refund you 2, so that's 3. It just helps you mesh out those dragon slashes a little bit better than you can, as you'll see right now. So if we go into Dragon Stance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's not 10. That's not even close to 10. I have no idea what they did under the hood to make this not 10. Near as I can tell, you're not expanding bullets faster, or rather, you're not expanding them faster with any benefit. If you didn't know, Tactical Reload, when you press it, makes you basically load bullets faster into your Dragon Trigger gun, in quotes. I somehow think that either one of two things happened under the hood. As some byproduct of their code or shifting stuff around, they either made it so that you don't generate extra flow passively when you're going through the cycle of checking to see if you hit the 10th flow threshold to re-enter Dragon Trigger, or they just made it always load bullets faster without actually accruing any benefit for the first bullet with Tactical Reload. I don't know how or why this could have happened. There was another bug very, very early in the patch where Tactical Reload wouldn't reload Gunsaber skills unless you had the Gunsaber equipped, because they changed it to only affect Bladesworn skills, not just like sharts that would be funny. Shouts with charges, rather. It no longer affects those or anything else with charges, only Bladesworn skills. So, again, let's go up to a golem with a little more health here. Hopefully it won't put me out of combat. I'll show you this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're getting closer. 7, 8. 8. Again. That's not 10. That's not even close to 10. That's not even close to 11, which is what you really should be getting. Let alone if you have any more flow generation, which is gross. This trait was already bad. Dragon Trigger was already the fun but bad trait. It's now the bad but bad trait because it no longer does what it says on the tin. So how do we fix this? This is a build crafting channel. I love this build. I want to be able to play it. I want to be able to continue roaming on Bladesworn. How do we fix this here? Well, what we do is we min-max gear for about 3 weeks and then come back to the channel of Tier Tribunes. So let's load that up. Again, we'll go through the build real quick here. I'll pull it up for you guys and girls so you can check it out, my roaming homies out there. We are running some of the weirdest traits ever. If you follow me already, you know I like arms. I like arms despite half of the traits not actually working. Furious Burst doesn't work with Bladesworn correctly. This works incorrectly, but is the only benefit that Bladesworn has, so it's bugged in our favor. It's sort of this armistice that arenanet has worked out, where if they fix a bug that does something good or bad, they have to make up for it in some way. Once people get used to playing it that way, it's just how the game works now. 10 years old. We're getting a 4th expansion. It's a miracle. Anyway, Furious gets, the condition damage does nothing. Maybe they'll add power damage to this eventually. Who knows? That'd be lovely. Doubt it. Signet Mastery, crux of the build. As you may or may not know, I already love signets. Spamming Healing Signet when you're running around, or the Elite Signet just for these stacks of, what is it? Signet of Ferocity. I always forget what it's actually called on your bar. But you can't get on a cat, unfortunately, with this, or else you lose all your buff stacks. A little bit of a downside, so I tend to run a Greatsword on the offhand just to sort of whirl around between camps and stuff. Sort of trivializes the addition of cats to World vs. World, but I hate them anyway because they're basically just a 6,000 or 9,000 bonus health, so whatever. Back to the build. So we've got Axe Pistol. Yep, we're running Pistol. The reason we're running Pistol is because this is the Pistol trait line. It is called Discipline. The reason it is the Pistol trait line is because you have Fast Hands. What Fast Hands does is it's the most broken trait in the game. If you need a rundown on why it's the most broken trait in the game, go check out my Warrior video I put 200 hours into and nobody watched. It's really good. It's fantastic. This trait is nuts. The reason it's not normally played on Bladesworn is because Bladesworn and predominantly Shoutsworn and predominantly Tactics was broken. And kinda still is with Martial Cadence, but that's a separate issue. Fast Hands basically affords you the ability to have as many buttons on it, any class that isn't Bladesworn, or any warrior class that isn't Bladesworn as every other class. Destruction of the Empowered, need it for the damage. We're giving up a lot of damage by running these so much assassins and like cavalry captains in here, and Bladesworn is built off having max power, so we really need it. And plus we make up the Condi Cleanse with the Sigil of Cleansing anyway. We've got a Sigil, I'll go over those in a second, sorry. Warrior Sprint, plays off of the swiftness we get. We get plenty of swiftness with Burst Mastery. You'll get plenty of movement once you go out of combat, or go into combat, start dragon triggering around. Lots of swiftness. I would recommend popping Signet of Rage for the initial swiftness if you need it, and then Superior Runes Speed, keep that swiftness up. One of my favorite runes, one of the really ones, the only runes that really does anything and is worth running in PvE. Stacking Sigil, Stars on the offhand, now we can get up to... Honestly, the addition of the 5% crit chance and Strength and Arms really made it possible to not have to run all assassins here and actually get some decent power damage in other ways like Fury Sharpening Stones, and not have to run like Precision Food here to have 100% crit chance. Really nice. Love that addition. Love that it carried over to World versus World. River's Flow, just really the only trait to run, honestly. You can also run Swift as the Wind, just for the swiftness when you're running around. It makes getting around a lot easier. It's kind of a nightmare if you don't run this, so I generally spec into Swift as the Wind. But if you want to actually have, you know, the proper build, River's Flow is the way to go because it triggers off the Sigil of Blood. Unshakable Mountain, this is why this is the pistol trait. So Unshakable Mountain is the most broken trait on Bladesworn, hands down, because it gives you 800 barrier or 820 barrier that scales. I have a little bit of healing power in here, so it's scaled up to 830. Whenever you unload the last charge of an ammunition skill. This originally applied to Lush Forest, and they realized that was unbelievably broken, and then they applied it to Unshakable Mountain 2, and they realized if they could took it away from Unshakable Mountain 2, the class would be unplayable, because it would be terrible, because they don't know how to make warrior. So, what we do is we run pistols, and we run axe, and whenever you can, just swap into this weapon sweat and unload your 6 and your 3. It doesn't matter if you have anything targeted, it doesn't matter if you've accrued enough shots, it will give you 800 barrier, it's for free. It's basically how you have all your sustain combined with the Healing Signet and the Sigil of Blood. That's your only sustain on this build. It's really, really good, but you have to maintain it, and it's a very fast-paced playstyle, something you really lost when you initially hit Bladesworn. If you didn't know, Dragon Trigger skills, kind of important. We don't have stability anymore. They took that away because... Honestly, I think there's a Bladesworn rework coming if you look at the patch notes and sort of the cadence they put in the game and how they've been talking about making space on this class for other things, like taking the dramatic shout trinket away and basically reducing its stun breaks from 3 to 1. So I really do think there's a Bladesworn overhaul coming. Hopefully we'll get, you know, the ability to sheath it, color our gun sabers, everything. My dreams will come true and they'll be cake. The last 3 things probably won't happen, but I'm really excited to see what they do with this class. Anyway, for now, we have to run this. So spam Trigger Guard whenever you can. Flicker Step, really just to reposition yourself really bad and for getting away. This is horrible. This is not a real teleport, arenanet. Give us a real teleport on Warrior. This is not. It doesn't even have an animation. It's awful. Dragon Trigger Reach is notable now because it actually pierces and is unblockable. This is really strong when you're fighting things that know what they're doing because you can actually damage them. So sometimes when I would normally be in range for a force or a boost, I go for a reach because it gives you that unblockable. Again, you're going to be stacking up vulnerability on your target, a little bit of cover conditions with the bleeding, but not really. Otherwise that trade is largely useless. And then we have our weapon set that we already went over. Runes of Speed again, because they're really only one of the ones that's worth running in World vs. World. Alright, that was boring. Let's go play this build. Yeah. So the food, I didn't go over, but we are running Spherified Celestial Food because it is overpowered with the condition reduction modifier, which is the best for World vs. World. It just is, period. If anyone tells you it's the damage one, they are wrong. They need to either stop playing Berserker gear and put in some knights or something and run something that says 20 instead of 10 because 20 is a larger number. Unless your class already has unbelievable Condi Clear or the person that super knows what they're doing. It is just the best modifier to have on your food in general. Alright, let's make sure we're running the right thing. We've got that. Alright, so let me demonstrate a little bit how this sort of fixes the 10 trigger problem, as it were. So we'll cheat, we'll use Flow Stabilizer, max out our flow real quick. Go into Dragon Trigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't move, but that's a separate issue. 7, 8. 8, and it dropped out. All right. 9, 10, 11. Dropped out again for no reason. 12. I don't know. It was more than 10. Point being, more than 10. Didn't have to pop flow stabilizer. I could have in there if I wanted to. Only downside of this, again, you really don't have stability. And look at all the swiftness I have now. You really don't have any stability on this build. It's really, 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 really rough. I can't stress enough how unbelievably rough not having like access to any stability is right now. You can swap in Dolyak Signet, but the problem with that is the stability is so low and the cooldown is so long, even with the Signet trait. It's really not worth it, I've found. I initially was running Dolyak Signet and just went back to Shake It Off just because it's a lower cooldown stun break, even by 2 seconds. Try what works for you. I highly recommend some kind of instacast, just because you're gonna want it. Because Stomp is, again, needs a bit of a rework here. But let's load up into a real Borderland and go run around. I apologize to anyone who caught this stream earlier. I've been having lots of like streaming issues. It's mostly my ISP, and when it's not my ISP, it's NVIDIA updating their graphics cards for 40 series and completely borking 30 series cards, because that's cool to do now, apparently. So hopefully we've got it sorted all out. Yell at me in the comments if you catch one of these, or afterward if you just want to, or just in general. Hit me up on Twitter, or on YouTube, or on Twitch, or whenever you can. Just be like, hey, this is choppy, fix it. Because I don't know. I always test my streams and then what is that? And see that? And so much stuff has been outlined for no reason in this game. Anyway, yeah, it's just been a wild ride going through driver issues and stuff. So let's go find some stuff to fight. So this is basically why I usually run offhand greatsword, because I'm running around stacking this nonsense, which gives you 500 free ferocity, which is a buttload of damage through this Signet of Ferocity, but tragically it doesn't really retain when you're on a cat, which is the worst ever. Yeah, not a fan. I honestly just would, rather than them fix that on cats, I'd rather them just take cats out of World versus World. Or, hear me out, instead of that, they should implement cats the way they should have been implemented. Cats should have 2 charges of Aegis, 1 health, and they should move twice as fast as they do, because they should be about movement, not about trolling people. I don't know. Maybe that would make, because one of the things that they talk about a lot on, they have talked about at least in the past, in blog posts that nobody reads, but I appreciate arenanet, if you've managed to make it past all of me shitting on how you balance warrior through this stream. They talked about how fights attrition, because when they balance World versus World, they're not really looking at small scale like my builds, right? Like small scale roaming builds. They're not really looking at that. They're more looking at how macro fights play out, because this is a macro game mode. And I really like that, and that's why I really like building for this game mode, because it lets you do some really overpowered stuff. The problem with that is, so cats allowing attritioning, basically you can get back to the fight. I don't know how to phrase it. Basically allowing people to get back to fights faster makes balancing the game mode a little bit weirder. So cats are in this really awkward place where they were originally used for stomping, but then they nerfed the 10-man stomp, so they can't really do that anymore. I really wish they'd kept the 10 target thing in PvE, or at the very least let the cat bonus apply the movement speed buff to allies in PvE. That would be actually very useful for shepherding people to and from. It would be almost like the first multi-person mount, but they didn't do that either in PvE if you had the masteries, so it's whatever. But cats really don't have a place in World versus World. It's going to be really interesting if they do end up putting turtles in World versus World. I would like them to, if they do that, it's a turtle-specific map, and turtles basically have 0 health. You know, you get hit once, you're off the turtle, or get hit once by like a player, you're off the turtle. I don't like the idea of having a combat mount that I have to deal even more damage to and kite around because I'm a warrior player and we have no long range options. It's kind of rough. But yeah, if you're interested in stupid builds like this, hopefully we can get some fights, although it is like 4 in the morning on US servers. Check out the channel out, hit me up, ask me questions. If you want help with your builds, I'd love to help you, even if you're just, you know, starting in rare gear. I built someone else, one of my guildies, a rare build the other day. He didn't have a lot of money, so I was just like, here's what you can make for 20 gold. I love helping people with that stuff. So, build crafting channel. Catch me. I try to be live as many days a week as I can. Some days it works out, some days it doesn't. We usually do Harvest Temple progression. We're doing that right now on Sundays or Mondays, rather, at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is a little bit different time slot than this. But if that's the sort of thing you're interested in, or if you just want to see me clown around on a controller, which I do play on, yeah, feel free to hang out. I probably should have switched into pistol for these Doliacs. And let's go to our new music. Like, digging it. Like outlined water. I really want to know what's up with, like, did I turn some kind of texture pack on or something? And this was happening before I updated my drivers too. If anyone knows, let me know. It's very weird. Oh, that's probably almost off RI. If they do an overhaul of Warrior Signets, it's going to be very interesting how they do that. Because they're going to have to rework the Signet trait. And I really don't want them to. I'd rather them just buff the Signets, keep it in arms, and be bad, and have no one play it except me. Because I really like the 500 free ferocity, or whatever I can stack up here. Very convenient. I really like it a lot. I only had 10 might there from my passive Signet that triggered, and I was hitting pretty hard with the swing, so... And this is my offhand weapon, this isn't even with the Sigil of Blood. Master's Bed too. Stack for the stack god. Went up a level. Good healers today. World ranker, vet. Get the vet. Probably get a rank or two while we're showing stuff up. I might have to go to EBG to try to get fights. And on a side note, if anyone has a good Bladesworn Greatsword build out there, let me know. I had one. I've been trying to make it work. It's hard because Bladesworn is not inherently a mobile class, and Greatsword is a inherently mobile weapon. It also has obviously no charges on it. But we really need the axe and the pistol for this build, and in order for this build to work at all, you need to take discipline, so there's no reason not to run axe pistol. But yeah, if you have any ideas, let me know. Just look at the map real quick. Let's go over here, we'll get a vet, and then we'll go to EBG. Try to show this off a little bit. This genre is sin. I put a little short up on the channel for today as well. It's about hay bales. It is when my graphics card was glitching, kind of not. So it's got like one glitch in it, but it's very intelligible. In case you didn't know, on the Desert Borderlands, there's these hay bales you can jump into Assassin's Creed style. Pretty cool. You don't take falling damage. How do we get up to the bed? I wish there was more stuff going on in like all these things, you know? Like, even if the NPCs were kind of a la Lion's Arch, where they're not real NPCs, or in some of those story missions where they don't have to load and it doesn't lag your game to hell, if you don't have like a monster computer, that would be really cool. I just like prefer more ambiance and stuff. I'm so looking forward to when they rework World vs. World, when and if. See if we get some new maps and stuff. the game's doing well. Numbers are up. The quarter reports are up from where they were this time after Path of Fire, which is good. Lots of new players. The Twitch drops have been bringing in lots of viewers for this game. If you have any questions about Guild Wars in general, feel free to ask. I do lots of like build guides and stuff, but that's mostly because all the intro guides and whatever else are taken by excellent channels like maclaine and tpot. So if you have any questions or on one of my streams or just want to see something, or like I have a question about my controller setup or anything else, trying to get it set up on a Steam Deck or whatever, I would be happy to help. We are stacking up these wonderful stacks of vulnerability on this thing, and now we're hitting for a decent amount of damage. We're not in axe pistol. I think this thing is going to be aggro. Oh, got it. Hell yeah. 10 achievement points and a bed. I didn't realize it was 10. That's a lot. Side note, I'm finally getting my turtle, slowly playing through the Season 1 story, and I love those weapons they put in. The old Lion's Arch, I thought it was originally going to be pieces of a boat you were going to assemble, because they all sound like it, right? Like Old Lion's Staff, or whatever they're called, Hero of Lion's Arch Staff, and whatever, wheel, mast, but nope, they are weapons, and they are very cool. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the video on the channel where I have a preview of it. Those up as cleanly and as fast as possible. Try to label them for people so I'm not just flipping through the bank with no context. Right. Is there anybody to fight? Is there anybody out there? Well, we've got whatever it's called, the castle at tier 2. So there's gotta be somebody out there, right? Longest harvesting animation possible. Still need a cool war cloth. Not really happy with any of them except for the like poopy lion one.